2024 marks 25 years of the BMW X5, which I just find hard to believe because I don't like thinking about getting older. But in any case, it's been 25 years of this thing. Welcome to Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and this is indeed the 2024 BMW X5. This is 25 years of BMW's original sports activity vehicle, built in Spartanburg, South Carolina, alongside all the other X cars and the Z3 and later the Z4, although not the newest ones. But in any case, we're newer to getting BMW loans here on the channel, and I'm super pumped to spend some time with this X5 because I owned one. I owned a first-gen X5, an E53, that I bought for a cheap off-road challenge. Mine was, I think, a 2001. It was topaz blue on cream of some sort, and it was kind of terrible, but it was so endearing. It was the perfect size. It was effectively an E39 5 Series on stilts with all-wheel drive, and BMW really hasn't strayed too far from that formula with these. They've, of course, added the X3 and the X7 that are bigger and smaller, but this is kind of their bread and butter. This is really, in theory, a great car for a lot of people, and I just loved my 2001. So here we are 25 years later from the original 1999 model year, and I want to see what's changed and what's stayed the same, because I think mine was very endearing. It was a 3-liter inline-six, it was an automatic transmission, it was all-wheel drive, it really went anywhere, and I mean, I got it up on 3 wheels taking it off-road with some friends, with some other terrible, cheap, high-mileage old crossovers and SUVs, and of course this one is not terrible and old and high mileage. This is in fact brand new, but I think there's some of that spirit still there of this is something that is useful, it's utilitarian, it's a crossover, but it's still good to drive first and foremost. I think a lot of people are kind of bummed with BMW's styling changing, and they're saying, oh, you're going tech forward above all else. And they are in some ways. They've updated some things here for 2024, but they've also, I think, tried to keep some of the driving experience from the earlier days. So let's talk about what this thing is, and then the best way to get to know a car is to road trip it, so that is what we'll be doing. We'll be hopping behind the wheel for about 5 hours of round trip highway and back road cruising. So let's talk about a couple basic things with this X5. So this is an iDrive 40i, which means it's all-wheel drive. They do offer a rear-wheel drive model on the 40i. And then 40i means that this has the 3-liter inline 6-cylinder with 2 turbos on it. So this is actually the same inline 6-cylinder that is in my Toyota Supra, which is the same inline 6 that's in the BMW Z4 that the Supra is. And it's in some other BMW products as well. It's a honey of an engine. It's called the B58, and in this case it makes 375 horsepower and 383 pound-feet of torque, but BMW for 2024 added a 48-volt mild hybrid system, so there's a teeny little electric motor in the bell housing that can add a little bit of power and torque. It's really one of those things that's just meant to kind of smooth out the auto start-stop and add a little tiny bit of fuel economy and help get rid of any turbo lag, which the B58 doesn't tend to have, but in any case, that's what it does. It doesn't really add power necessarily, but in full boost, full electric, full everything, you get up to just shy of 400 pound-feet of torque, so it does help a touch there. That's paired to an 8-speed Steptronic ZF automatic torque converter transmission, and like I said, this one has all-wheel drive. It's not going to have any locking diffs or anything. This is an on-road focused system, although that was the same thing my E53 had, and well, it got far enough off-road even on some terrible tires. Otherwise, this has some pretty basic suspension and everything going on. You can get these with a V8, you can get them as a plug-in hybrid, you can get them with 4-corner air suspension and adaptive suspension and all this good stuff, but this is fixed rate suspension. It doesn't have crazy big brakes, it's not the M, it's not anything, and honestly I think it makes it more charming because it's more honest. No one's thinking that their crossover, their sports activity vehicle, is going to be a track day superstar. I mean, you can track them, but I think this is honestly just fine. So this one's got the upgraded 21-inch wheels over the standard 20s, but otherwise it's pretty basic as far as performance options go. Now we should take a look at the interior because it is quite nice in there. For 2024, BMW replaced the dashboard layout. They updated the interior with what you see in the BMW iX and some of their other newer cars. So you've got a single panel of glass that is 2 separate screens that makes up your gauges and your infotainment system. You've got the newest iDrive software behind that as well. I don't love it because it's angled away from you just a touch as the driver. I think it's kind of odd angle-wise, but the whole system does work fairly well. Otherwise, sport seats are standard for 2024, which some people will love, some people will hate, and they've just done a few other little touches. Now, this one has everything you can really put on a 40i, so it's got the executive package, it's got the parking assistant package, it's got the driver assistance package, it's got everything on there. So what that means is the MSRP of this one is about $80,000, but it's the nicest one you're going to get with that inline-six. And of course, just like the E53, just like every generation that's come since, this one does indeed have a split folding tailgate, so you can sit like I am and watch horse racing or whatever you do with a split folding tailgate. But we've come to expect power tailgates from luxury cars, and this of course has it. So with that, let's get behind the wheel and hit the road for some highway and backroads driving. All right, so first things first, 2024 BMW X5 with the B58 inline-six. Give it the beans. Sounds great. Turbo inline-six, love that. It sounds more or less like my Supra and everything else they put the B58 in, although in the sport mode it does pump some engine sound into the cabin, as every new car does. But in any case, there's no adaptive suspension here, so really the sport mode is just going to sharpen up your steering and your throttle response, make the steering a touch heavier, that sort of thing. I'm going to go ahead and put the car back to comfort, put it in drive, because honestly that's how most people are going to drive these most of the time. Now, we're on some back roads here. I've been road tripping, I've done some highway driving, and then this is kind of the final leg of my journey. So let's talk about how this all kind of comes together as a package. And, you know, as far as the rest of the driving experience is concerned here, you know, when this gets placed on a back road like this, despite not having the trick suspension and the air ride and all that, it feels good. The general suspension setup on here is going to err slightly on the firmer side. Part of that is from these wheels. These are those upsized 21-inch wheels with a smaller tire sidewall. So if you want a little extra comfort and don't want to spend all the money on the air suspension and everything, you can just do the 20-inch wheel. You can get a little more tire on there, which will help with the ride quality a touch. But I think the 21s, BMW selected for these cars for the loaners because they want to make sure you've got a nice mix of ride quality and a car that can handle, because they want to show off the chassis. Now the chassis itself, like I said, these have been around since 2018, 2019. It's a good chassis. It's a good car. It is absolutely on the side of being a driver's car versus something that is completely trying to isolate you from the elements. So I do really appreciate that, because it just feels, if you care about the driving experience, I know a lot of people, oh, modern BMW, oh, they're going for all the tech and all the giant grills and everything. Well, first of all, this doesn't have the giant grill yet. I hope they don't do it. But I think it looks pretty good. But more importantly than that, they're not just going for the tech in here. They did do all the updates, which we'll get to in a second, but it is pretty nice to drive too. Now you do have the paddle shifters here. You can, you know, pick a different gear if you want. One interesting thing, when you're in the normal drive mode, this gauge cluster just shows you the percentage of power output. It does not show a tachometer. If you put it into the sport transmission program, then it will show you a regular tach. So that's kind of interesting. I don't love it as a total power output ometer, but they're doing it because this has the mild hybrid system paired to the B58, and they've also got the other models of X5 that have either the mild hybrid V8 or the plug-in hybrid system. So in any case, I get what they're doing. I don't necessarily love it, but you know, whatever. Now, steering is a little on the lighter side, but has good feel. It does firm up, like I mentioned, in sport. The car is generally kind of a peach to drive. It's easy, it's predictable, it's just kind of happy to do all this stuff. It's not especially bothered. And going all the way back to the first gen, the E53 X5, that's how mine was back when I had it. And they've kind of carried that theme forward. Like I said, ride quality, pretty good, a little firm, steering pretty good. Everything is balanced. The only thing that I think could be just a touch different, and this is me being real nitpicky, is just the brake pedal. The initial bite as you go for the brakes, I think could be just a teeny tiny bit more aggressive, but that's me nitpicking. It feels great. The whole driving experience here is just nice. And that is combined with a nice slow dashboard, nice slow door sills. My test is always like, can I hang my elbow out of the window and look really cool while I'm driving in the city? And you totally can. What that means is you've got a low belt line, you can see out of everything, and that's paired with the nice big pano roof that lets all the light in, some nice big side mirrors, the rear view mirror, all that, and then a lot of glass in here. For what this is, you have a lot of glass. So I do like that. Now this car too, they did add all the different packages. This one has that 360-degree camera and the top-down view. The camera quality in here is excellent, very easy to park. It's got all the parking assistance stuff too, which works fairly well, but I always find with this and with every other brand's parking stuff, I can just do it faster. If you live in a city, you're gonna just be more comfortable parking something yourself. But if you need help parallel parking or perpendicular parking or whatever, this is a pretty decent system, I guess. So beyond that, let's talk about the tech while we're driving kind of slow here through this little downtown area. So they changed the dashboard setup. They changed the interior to have this single screen cluster cockpit dealie, which is actually 2 screens. They don't lie about that. It's 2 separate screens. So it's a 12-inch screen over here and a 14.5-inch screen over here. So the gauge screen that's directly in front of you, I wish it could be more customizable. It doesn't really do a whole lot. I think they could use these pixels better. You've just got a speedometer and a tach or power output-o-meter thing, and then the big central option that, you know, values for this trip or since reset or whatever. This I don't think is using the pixels that well. But when you move over here to the main screen for iDrive, this is using their latest operating system. This is the same setup as I talked about in the BMW iX when I drove that with Jeremiah and Garrett a couple months ago. Now you'll see I have Apple CarPlay up here right now, but if I pick the home screen, it takes me back to the BMW setup, and their system is actually very, very good. I'm truly only using CarPlay right now because I use Waze on long road trips just because I like having all the different alerts, but generally the BMW system is great. One thing I do actually appreciate about it is that you can hit the little square icon here and just get all the apps, and they've got them named really well. It's intuitive to just hop in and just kind of say, okay, what do I need to figure out? Oh, exterior lighting, great, right here. So things are a little buried in menus. That's kind of what you're getting with a lot of cars these days. I don't love how complex this system is, but at the same time, I think they do a nice job making it fairly easy to figure out and fairly easy to find what you want when you're in here. Now, the one thing I don't love is the climate control system. This is a bit of a pain. So you can touch the little fan icon here, and that will bring up your climate control system. Now, they're looking for you to just put this in auto mode and set it and forget it, which fine. And they leave persistent controls for your temperatures. You've got dual zone climate, and then this car has the rear climate package as well. But you know, you can mess with your temperature, and that's all fine and good. But if you want to access your heated and ventilated seats and your heated steering wheel, the climate control has to be on, which I know is a weird nit to pick, but there are a lot of times where I want the climate control off. I don't need air blowing at me, but I want the heated seat turned on. I want the ventilated seat turned on because I got the windows down. I'm enjoying the outside air, and you can't quite do that very easily. So it wants to be running. Either way, if you push the kind of temperature control over here, that will call up your seat and steering wheel controls, which is pretty easy to deal with. Same thing for the seats if you want to adjust them. There are some things you can adjust on the side of the seat. You can see as I touch different controls on the side of the seat here, it will show what I'm doing. But some of the others you have to do while you're parked, and you have to just mess with it a little bit otherwise. All right, now we do have a passing opportunity here, so go ahead and put my foot in it. Now this B58 feels plenty strong. It is not the fastest thing in the world in a straight line, but for a passing maneuver like that, the way this is geared feels great, honestly. It's plenty punchy. Do you need the V8? Absolutely not. Only if you want the V8 sounds, or to say you have a V8, or you want the M competition one or whatever. But this is plenty fast. Between the turbos and then the little bit of mild hybrid system, it adds a tiny torque bump. It's really designed to kind of keep the engine in boost and help you off the line a little bit more, but it is plenty quick. And the ZF 8-speed in here, the Steptronic 8-speed, is pretty smart. Everyone's kind of got this all sorted and figured out by now. So yeah, driving experience wise, really enjoying this quite a bit. Back to the screens now that I've passed those clowns. This is fairly easy to deal with. Like I said, the climate control I don't especially love. I'm still not a fan of touch-based climate control. I wish they would have left a few more buttons, but you do still have some buttons. You've got the dial down here for your volume. You've got track buttons, which I'm so glad they kept, your hazards, and your defrost. So that is all fine and good. And then you do have the iDrive controller. BMW still believes in using the iDrive knob, which I'm honestly really glad they do, because a lot of this is just easier to deal with while you're on the move with a dial. And I think that it's just nice. You've got your home button, you've got controls for, you know, media, map, telephone, all the good stuff, but it just makes life easy once you figure out how to work this. And I hope they continue to keep this as they evolve these cars, because it is a nice little extra. You've got both methods of operation going on here. Then of course a couple of other little controls for drive modes and, you know, hill descent, auto hold, that sort of stuff. I love the fact that they just kept it out and accessible. So they've done a nice job here. Obviously not everything with this 2024 X5 is new, but I think this interior update brings this into the present realm of BMW for the model lineup without feeling crazy modern to where buyers are going to be a little turned off. I think other cars like the iX, for example, obviously they want that one to be very tech forward and be the future of the brand and all that good stuff, but not everything has to be that. And it's nice that this just feels still fairly traditional while being more tech forward now. That is it for the 2024 BMW X5 40i. Thank you so much for coming along. As always, be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe here on YouTube. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff. Head over to outmotorsports.com. We've got a whole group over there that would love to be your new best friends. We've got events both in person and online, and we'd love to have you for any and all of that. Till next time, stay safe, be well. See you for the next one.